Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
In answer to his question about the subjects.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? There are hopeless and hungry.
Now it's time for us to stand up for God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public is saying.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Today. I am Kathy Miller, filling in for your host this afternoon. Your regular host is Sterling Dwayne Banks, but you have me for this afternoon, and we have our first guest in studio from 12:15 till about 1 o'clock, maybe a little earlier than that. From the Cayman Ministers Association, I'll be welcoming Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock. And then we're going to have some open line after our first guests have finished with us. And I know we've got some pretty hot topics to talk about this afternoon, Cayman, so I definitely encourage you to get your thoughts together and join me on an open line at around 1 o'clock. The numbers to call are 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can try to WhatsApp me your thoughts at 925-3261. And we're going to throw it back for a quick disclaimer and a little message, and then we'll be back with Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in this afternoon for your regular host, Sterling Dwayne Banks, who's on a very much needed vacation. So I hope you enjoy your vacation, Sterling, and that none of us have to call you to fill in for us as we're trying to fill in for you this week. So hopefully we'll get through this, no problem. As I mentioned before that break, in studio with me this afternoon, I have Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock. They're here on behalf of the Cayman Ministers Association. Good afternoon, gentlemen, and welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks.
How are you both doing?
We're both doing very well, and it's a pleasure being here.
It's a pleasure to have you. I haven't spoken to either of you yet on the show, and I know you come on from time to time, so thank you for joining me this afternoon. A little different experience.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
So let our listeners know what we are here to talk about this afternoon.
Yes, well, the event that we're talking about is the National Day of Prayer. This is an annual event. I was looking at a program 3 years ago, and it did indicate that that was going to be the 25th annual one. So I know with the pandemic, we have not had a live in-person National Day of Prayer, I think, for a couple of years. So we have been having these National Days of Prayer since the 90s, praying for our nation, praying for our people, praying especially for the leadership and the various areas of government.
Yes.
So that's going to be tomorrow at 12 noon, right at the on the grounds of the old glass house.
Okay, excellent. You said it was possibly the 25th year.
I think it would have been several more years than that,
Okay.
but it has been going on for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an annual event. And we usually have it on the Tuesday before Easter.
Okay, does it ever happen again during the year?
Yes,
Okay.
we do have one at the end of the hurricane season where we give God thanks for seeing us through the hurricane season. So we call that one a day of prayer and thanksgiving.
Okay.
This one is the day of prayer. We have the hurricane season coming up in June. And God forbid that, we don't have a terrible season, but we need to ask God for help and protection.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. So how does the event usually roll out? So we're asking people to come for 12 noon till 12:50. This is tomorrow at the Glass House lawn. What can people expect if they have never, physically been present for the National Day of Prayer?
Yes. Well, we do have very broad-based participation. We do have most of our churches cooperating, the pastors as well. And, of course, with the social distancing, we this year, we're going to be asking folk just to space themselves a little bit, and we'd have various pastors coming up, having 2-3 minutes prayers and asking the people to agree with us as we pray together. We will have music as well, different songs and choruses will be interspersed during those times of prayer.
Okay, excellent. Did you want to add anything, Pastor Haylock?
No, I'm just excited to see what the turnout would be this year, because this is the first, as Pastor Bob said, now for at least 2 years since we've been able to have it real physical. Other times it's been over, sort of over the medias. So I'm excited about us coming together as we were used to doing since. First time since the pandemic, and I'm praying that we'll have a good turnout.
Right, in person.
Yes.
It's been a couple of years. So this is the first one in person since the pandemic hit?
Yeah, I think so. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it is so.
But I think so. But, what I like is that our people are really God-fearing people.
Absolutely.
And historically, we have had the various government ministers and parliamentarians coming out and joining us, even the governor, so that our leaders recognize the importance of prayer. And because of that, I feel it's incumbent upon us as a populace to really make that effort. And we're having it during the lunch hour so that we can really come together and seek the face of God. I mean, when we look and see what is happening internationally, we really have to give God thanks for the state of things here in the Cayman Islands, socially and economically. We are a nation that has really been blessed by God. And I believe that to the extent that we would take time to look to God for help and guidance, to that extent we are going to really move ahead individually and collectively. Yeah.
In these past 2 years, because we were in lockdown in 2020 at this time when you would have had your National Day of Prayer in April 2020. And this always happens right before Easter.
Yes, the Tuesday before Easter.
The Tuesday before Easter. So we were definitely in lockdown in 2020. And then there was still a lot of, regulations that we had to adhere to last year, including that public gathering numbers and the social distancing. So at least right now, social distancing inside is something that is still very much suggested, but outside it's a little bit different now. It's not necessary per se.
Yeah. Okay. Well, people still can make themselves comfortable.
Absolutely. You should still be comfortable and still be practicing. If the social distancing is a thing, wearing your mask still, regardless if people say you don't have to wear it outside, do the things that do keep you safe and will keep the people around you safe, right?
Exactly.
And now, Pastor Torrance, you had mentioned that internationally there's a lot of things going on, but let's have a look at that probably after the break. But if we look at Cayman right now, what do you, from I guess the people that have spoken to you, what are some of the biggest kind of issues or concerns or the themes that you're finding right now, maybe in these past 2 years, that people are struggling with, that you would want all of us to come together and pray for a better solution for that?
Okay. You want me to address that now?
Yes, please.
Yes, certainly. One of the things that people are struggling with is the high cost of living. The prices have really gone up, and many people are struggling to make ends meet. And several of our churches are involved in feeding programs where they have to try to help people in whatever way they can. And because of depressed income, many people are having domestic issues as well. And the matter of domestic violence is very real in our society. And, we really need the help of God in all of these various areas. And I believe, and I know, and I'm convinced that God is really concerned about every area of our lives, both collectively and individually. And to the extent that we seek Him for help and guidance, I believe that to that extent we will receive that help and guidance. So, we look at finances, we look at several social issues that our populace are facing. So it's very real that we do need God's help at this time.
You mentioned a couple of very key points there. I think the high cost of living being one of them, which we know that's been a problem that we've been dealing with for a very long time. The cost of living keeps going up and your salaries aren't. I can say that in government, definitely. Salaries are not going nowhere. And that's such a hard thing to grasp and to understand. And then now we have gasoline, which has just... It's absolutely. We're looking at like at least a 25% increase currently, and then in a few months, it's being projected to go to, what was it, $12 a gallon by the summertime. This is coming from independent owners of different petrol stations. So that's what the projection is to be, and it's quite scary, because how can we afford that?
And notwithstanding, there are those who are unemployed.
Oh, absolutely.
And there are several who are underemployed. So that this leads to a lot of different social issues that, really must be addressed. I mean, some people are just throwing their hands up in the air, wondering what to do, So we really need to address things in a very holistic manner,
I agree. I think we should... Let's touch on this more when we come right back from the commercial break. I think that was Pastor Haylock's phone that was alerting us to say it's time for the commercial break right now. So we're going to take you to a quick commercial break and get some of those messages in, and we'll return with Pastor Torrance Bobb and Pastor Gareth Haylock.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
JN Money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money, JN Money, I could send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash, or use a money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank, yeah. Pay your bills quick, yeah. Low fees, you know what it, yeah. JN Money, we a pick, yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
Every day in the Cayman Islands, nonprofits and their volunteers work tirelessly, improving our communities and the lives of the people within them.
With GiversPlanet.com, you can make a difference by supporting a fundraising effort or starting your own. Givers Planet provides an online solution to conveniently raise money for your worthy cause. Whether you are fundraising for medical needs, education, animal welfare, youth programs, religious missions, school PTA efforts, or a nonprofit.
Simply create your fundraiser at GiversPlanet.com and spread the word to your local and international supporters so that they can visit and make a secure online donation. Start fundraising online today with GiversPlanet.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And this afternoon in Talk Today, my first, I think my only guests today in studio are Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock from Cayman Ministers Association. And we are talking about their Easter events. And are we kicking off the Easter events with a National Day of Prayer?
Yes, we kick it off with the National Day of Prayer. Well, I should take that back because yesterday was Palm Sunday. Yes. And in many of our churches, we observe Palm Sunday, the day when Jesus rode into Jerusalem, and they spread tree branches, and their clothes on the ground so that he could ride into Jerusalem. So I would say yesterday kicked off the Easter events. And of course, we are following it up tomorrow at 12 o'clock with the National Day of Prayer. And then, of course, we do have Easter Sunday with the various Easter activities.
That's right. And for our National Day of Prayer tomorrow, as you just heard Pastor Torrance Bob mention, it's from 12 noon. It goes until 12:50, and we are having this at the lawn of the Glass House. I know for some people that do want to leave their work and might have to drive here, parking is always something that everybody questions. It's an issue in Georgetown, period, parking. Yeah. But I would like to encourage people to try to access the parking lot behind immigration. There's an access. There's a little tiny road. I forget what it's called. But we know about this parking lot. It's been there for a few years now. So this is where people should look to park. Please use the pedestrian crossing to cross the road and join us for the National Day of Prayer tomorrow, 12 noon, at the lawn of the Glass House. Now, right before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about some of the local issues, the issues that we're seeing in Cayman, that people have come to you as pastors and said, this is what we're struggling with. And we touched on the high cost of living, and you had mentioned right before the break, Pastor Bob, was that it's not just the high cost of living for those who are employed, but it's for those who are unemployed. And we know that, at least with the tourism sector, there was just over 3,000 people, families that were out of work. And while many did receive a stipend, it's still not. It's just barely helping them survive and make it. And yes, we have opened our borders, and tourism is coming back, but it's not just going to come at the levels that it was pre-pandemic, right? So people still need help, still need jobs. So that is one of the issues as well that you had mentioned. And during the break, you had spoke about mental health and saying that that's something else. Can you touch on that, what you're hearing from, I guess, people in your congregations?
Yes. So that whenever people don't have enough finances, it does lead to a lot of various issues. And this is why the scripture tells us that godliness with contentment is great gain. The Apostle Paul says, having therefore food and clothing, let us therewith be content. And it seems that people are preoccupied with material things. And I'm not saying that material things are not important, but what I am saying is that things need to be put in perspective. You know, when we look at what is happening in the Ukraine, when we look at what is happening in Sri Lanka, where the electricity is gone, they don't even have gas to run the generating plants, and in many countries where Haiti, for example, where there's massive social dislocation, we realize that we need to be satisfied with less.
Yes.
In other words, we should not just be preoccupied with material things. I'm not saying that it's not important, but we need to put things in perspective.
Yes.
You know, Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And he said, all these things shall be added unto you. And I'm not trying to spiritualize a material problem. I'm not trying to do that. We have to be realistic in life. But at the same time, God is the one who made us. We did not make ourselves. God is the one who gave us the ability to do things, to earn a living. He created within us the desire to eat, to drink. He's the one who made us. And I'm convinced that whenever we are facing problems with any given thing, the best one to go back to is the manufacturer.
Amen.
The one who made that thing. And God is the one who made us. And I think we just marginalize God. We just keep God out of our lives. And because of that, it seems to me that we are in a continued downward spiral of dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Because the one to really satisfy us, we are leaving him out of our lives. And I really believe that as we really individually and collectively seek God, ask him for guidance, ask him for help and direction, that he will help us. I am convinced.
I like at the beginning when I had asked about that question when it comes to the mental health, and you had said that God, I think I cannot repeat the scripture, I apologize, but you did repeat a scripture about being content, and as long as you were
with contentment is great gain.
Yes.
You know what scripture said, for we brought nothing into this world, and it's a sure thing we can take nothing out.
Yes.
So what Pastor Bob is striving to emphasize right there is the very things that we are striving to get more of. One day we will have to leave all of this behind. And then what we have been neglecting is become on the front burner. The Bible says it's appointed on the man once to die, and after death there will be a judgment. And that is what we're here. One of the greatest purpose of being here is to be ready for when that day comes.
Well, absolutely.
Whether we have little or how much, Paul said he had learned to be content in whatsoever state he was. He knew how to abound, he knew how to handle plenty, but then when it came time to be abased, he knew exactly how to conform to having less. And I think some of those lessons is needing for us to be adapting right now, because what's happening out there is very real.
I was going to ask, because you had, I think, Pastor Torrance Bob, you had said that the contentness is the shelter, I think, or the clothing.
Yes, well, there are some basic things that we need for life. We need food, yes. We need drink, we need clothing.
Okay.
Those are the basic things that we need for life.
I would hope shelter is included in that as well.
Well, shelter is included in a measure.
Okay.
You know, remember what Jesus said, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. So that food and clothing are necessary. But of course, God wants us to have much more than food and clothing.
Right.
God created things. He wants us to enjoy a good quality of life. That's God's desire for us.
I think so what I get from that is, as long as we have those very bare elements, as long as we have those, in my mind, it would be a bare element for somebody. Yes. It could be the world. Yeah. Just to have those things.
Yeah, I think
as long as we have that, we can still desire more, but be happy, be grateful, be thankful for what you do have, while you are still desiring more and working towards getting more.
Somebody asked this question: how much money does it take to make you happy? You know what the answer was to that? Just a little more.
It's always just a little more.
Things in themselves never make us happy.
Yes.
Because we are not just material beings. We are spiritual beings. We have been created in God's image and likeness. And just as the natural element for the fish is water, and for the plant is the earth, and for birds it's the air, our natural element is the presence of God. But what have we done? We have just relegated God to a Sunday or Saturday morning, or to special occasions in the church, but we don't really involve God in our everyday lives, and to our own peril and demise.
What do you think the best way for us to try to involve God in our everyday lives?
I'm sorry?
What do you think the best way for us to involve God in our everyday lives would be?
The scripture says that if in all our ways we would acknowledge Him, God, He will direct our path. So we need to become more spiritually inclined. Like Pastor Bob said, life is not all about things, but Jesus didn't, or God didn't, don't expect us to not excel in life. John said, I wish above all things, speaking on God's behalf, that you would prosper and be in health. Everybody jumps for that, but it concluded by, even as thy soul prospereth. You see, the health and the increase, all of that is hinged on as thy soul prospereth. But people leave out the prospering of the soul, but want the good health and want the increased wealth. And God sent it as a package. You can have both of those if you follow through and take care of the soul as well.
Cool.
And I believe, nationally speaking, to the extent that we really honor God, to that extent we will see an increase in our gross national product.
I believe that.
I really believe that God gives knowledge for inventions and how to do things, how to initiate things, how to make things, how to make, to increase. In Cali, Colombia, it was a real drug area.
Yes.
And churches got together for prayer, praying for several weeks. And would you believe that the crime rate plummeted? Not only did the crime rate plummet, but when they started to plant in the planting of their crops, they noticed that the harvest was significantly higher.
Yes.
The produce from the soil was significantly more than before.
I was thinking about other crops right there when we're thinking about Cali, Colombia, or when you mentioned that. We have to go to a quick commercial break right now, and when we return, we will continue our discussion with Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
The Department of Environmental Health would like to remind the public that applications for bonfire permits are to be submitted to the Secretary of the Public Lands Commission via email at plc@gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Ebanks as he's on vacation this week and next. It will be me, it will be Ray, and it will be Anita who's going to be sharing our hosting duties over these next couple of weeks. And in studio we have Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock. We started the discussion talking about the National Day of Prayer, which is tomorrow, April 12th at 12 noon. From 12 noon to 12:50, and it'll be at the location of the Glass House Lawn. If people are driving from various work areas or their homes and they want to join this National Day of Prayer, the first one that we've had in public since the pandemic hit. So the last one in public would have been 2019. So this is a pretty big deal. It's a pretty important occasion tomorrow. Please do join us, and you can park behind immigration there's a big parking lot there, and just take the pedestrian crossing across the road and join us for the National Day of Prayer tomorrow at 12 noon. Amen. Right before the commercial break, Pastor Torrance, you were mentioning, you were talking about Cali, Colombia, and what they believe the prayer really did for that country when they were going through a very, very violent time, and with, we know clearly a big drug trade, one of the biggest in the world, probably the biggest cartel in the world ever still, and they've been able to at least somewhat eliminate that from the country, at least cartel-wise. We know things still go on, but they've been able to recover in that country. And Colombia's a beautiful country. Been there, I absolutely love it. It's there's no reason that they should be in the position that they are in now, but they really are trying to recover, and they are a very godly country as well. I could say that from my experience there and the Colombians that I do know. And I think, Pastor Torrance, you'd mentioned that, when things are going bad or for certain occasions, perhaps maybe just on a Sunday we'll go to church, or when things aren't going well in our life, we'll pray. But we also have to remember to pray when things are going right. Yes. And then, Pastor Haylock, you did say, in all our ways to keep God with us, to ask us to guide us in everything that we do. Because I was asking, how do we bring God into our lives on a daily basis? How do we strengthen that spiritual tie with Him?
One of the unfortunate things is that we just expect God to rubber stamp everything that we are doing. Yes. We try to use God. I shouldn't say we use God. We try to use God very conveniently. When it's convenient, we acknowledge Him. When it's not, we just disregard Him. But I believe that the main way that we acknowledge God in our lives, first of all, is committing our lives to the Lord Jesus Christ. I mean, as we celebrate Easter, what does Easter really mean? It talks about the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Why did He do that? Just to give us another holiday? I don't think so. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He came to show us the way to God. And He says, no one comes to the Father but by me. So I am convinced that the way we incorporate God in our lives, first of all, committing our lives to Jesus Christ, asking Him to come into our hearts, allowing the Bible to direct us, because the Bible is direction for living. We ignore it to our own peril. And as we follow the guidelines of the Word of God, we would realize how we ought to treat each other, how we ought to treat things, the relationship we should have with God. And I'm convinced that to the extent that we acknowledge God, to that extent, we will prosper and get ahead in life. I mean, I have seen the countries and cities and communities, the ones that really seek the face of God, you see them get ahead, you see them prosper economically and otherwise, good standard of living. You know, we lived in Alberta for many, many years.
Oh, I'm from Vancouver.
I'm sorry?
I'm from Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Born in Alberta, but yes.
Born in Alberta, okay. And as you know, Alberta was led by Premier Manning, the Socrates, for several years. For 26 years, he was Premier of Alberta. Alberta was called the Bible Belt of Canada. You couldn't find a liquor store open on Sundays. Alberta has been one of the more prosperous provinces in Canada down through the years. And I believe it's because they acknowledged God, they honored God. And I believe that still holds true.
Whew, nobody wants to live in Alberta, though. Pastor Torrance, it's so cold.
Because, the cold, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going with the cold. but yes, it is a prosperous province for sure. Absolutely.
Jesus said, "He that honoreth me, him will my Father honor." And I really believe that there's merit to that. I mean, people, just kind of like what Pastor Torrance said, rubber stamp things. But when we acknowledge and when we invest time, because we were actually, Revelation 4:11 says, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and majesty, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure we are and were created." So our main purpose in this life is to bring pleasure to the Lord. But we, on our own assumption of authority, has conferred all of that pleasure to me.
To self, yeah, absolutely.
To us.
I would very strongly agree with you on that point. I want to ask, these past couple of years have been very, very hard on everybody, on society as a whole, on countries all across the world. We know this from what the COVID virus has done. It's really changed our way of living. We know that the mental health is a big issue with that. And then, so there's the pandemic and how the pandemic has affected us. We see so many people that are dying, even in our Cayman community, people that are just succumbing to COVID, vaccinated or not. I really don't care about that. They're passing away. Mm-hmm. And it's a very small country and very tight-knit community, so that hits us pretty good. Or not good, it hits us pretty hard. Sorry for the wrong wording there. Then we have the war that is happening right now between Russia and the Ukraine, and it's pretty unsettling. But there's a lot of, I want to say, reasons that people might say, my faith is withering. Why, if we have a God, why are millions of people around the world dying from COVID? Why is he allowing this to happen, allowing innocent people to die from this war? How do you counsel people that come to you with that kind of claim?
Yeah, people have to realize that because of sin coming into the world, it has affected every area of life. Yes. And this world is going to pass away. Things as we know it now, they are not going to continue indefinitely. In the time of Noah, there was a great flood that caused everyone living at the time, except Noah and 7 other persons, to be saved. Jesus said, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man." All the signs are being fulfilled for the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Things are going to change dramatically in our world. Things are not going to continue as usual. And all that is happening in our world, it's to warn us, to prepare us for the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. Cataclysmic things are going to happen. So therefore, I'm convinced what people need to do is to realize it's not going to be business as usual. They have to prepare themselves for eternity and do their best to have a comfortable life as possible. But I'm not a prophet of doom, but things are not going to get better.
It's already been prophesied, so you're just repeating what is there in the Bible.
It's going to happen.
I just hope it doesn't happen when I'm alive. This is, as selfish as that may sound, that is definitely my hope. We do have 2 callers, I believe, on the line. And caller, thank you for joining us on Talk Today. Remember, we have to go to our 1 p.m. headline news in just a couple minutes, so we're going to have to keep the first call short. And gentlemen, if you would pop on your headphones so we can take this call. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
First call?
Yes, yes, you are.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank the 2 pastors for coming on and sharing the word, the good news, and the Easter time celebrations, of course. I have a lot of faith. I believe the Bible, but I'm so disappointed in Cayman's churches, especially growing up here and seeing what has happened in the last 10, 20 years. It's really a shame. I'll give you a couple of examples, which I'm saying that because I think the church should be advocating as much as they did when I was a child, because some examples include 1 minute after midnight on a Sunday, the bar is open at 12:01 in the morning, and there are bars on almost every corner now, and the parties and the speeding are major issues. Never mind the unemployment, the cost of living, the need for family planning and counseling. I think the churches really have a lot of work to do, but I don't see them doing it outside of their own sanctuaries. As the Great Commission says, to go out into the world and seek and to save the lost. So I really appreciate and respect what you gentlemen and others are doing, but I wish that things were much better, even half as good as they were when I was a child. So all the best for the Easter, and thank you again, and God bless you all.
And to you as well.
I'm going to give you maybe 1 minute if you want to respond to what the caller said, and then we have to go to our headline news.
Yes, I think his point is well taken. We certainly would like to see things much better, but it takes everybody to participate. Could I make a quick comment? And this has to do with the sunrise services. We have 3 sunrise services taking place at 6 a.m. We have one at the 7 Mile Public Beach. We have one at the Spots Dock. And then we have one in East End, right opposite the East End United Church. So these 3 services operate simultaneously, 6 a.m. on Easter Sunday. We have the various churches getting together at those different points.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. I'm going to keep you guys with me a little longer. We have to do our headline news. I hope the second caller is still there. If not, please call us back after the break. We would love to speak with you.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The East End Health Centre phone lines are currently down. To reach the health centre at this time, contact 916-3607. In international news, Russia has warned Finland and Sweden against joining NATO, arguing the move would not bring stability to Europe. It comes as U.S. defense officials said Moscow's invasion of Ukraine has been a massive strategic blunder, which is likely to bring NATO enlargement. U.S. officials expect the Nordic neighbors to bid for membership of the alliance potentially as early as June. A microchip was first implanted into a human back in 1998, but it is only during the past decade that the technology has been made available commercially. British-Polish firm Walletmore says that last year it became the first company to offer them for sale. Walletmore's chip, which weighs less than a gram and is little bigger than a grain of rice, is comprised of a tiny microchip and an antenna encased in a biopolymer, a naturally sourced material similar to plastic. They state it is entirely safe, has regulatory approval, works immediately after being implanted, and will stay firmly in place. It does not require a battery or other power source and can be used wherever contactless payments are accepted. The firm says it has now sold more than 500 of the chips. Psilocybin, a drug found in magic mushrooms, appears to free up the brains of people with severe depression in a way that other antidepressants do not, a study has found. The results based on brain scans of 60 people mean the drug could treat depression in a unique way, the researchers say. Psychedelics are being studied to treat a range of mental health disorders. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Do we have that second caller on the line still? All right, let's take the second caller and hear what they have to say. And then we are going to go back and address a couple more things that the first caller said. But second caller, good afternoon and welcome to Talk Today.
No, what I got to say is that the great message that the pastors are disseminating there today. And notwithstanding what all the churches are doing, and they're doing a lot in the community, I think that the last caller's points has some good suggestions, and but I guess the church is us who, I say, the old folks would say, need to get out there and maybe scrabble a bit more for the Lord and do what He did just do.
May I just very quickly comment that we as the Cayman Ministers Association, we really opposed the permission to have alcohol in the various convenience stores, and we have always and will continue to do whatever we can to try to put things in perspective, things that we feel are not in the best interest of our society. We will make those suggestions. We will indicate our position to the powers that be. But our suggestions are not always accepted. But we will continue to do all we can to make this a better society.
I think the key thing you said was the powers that be, and those are our elected officials.
Well, as I said, the churches are doing a lot, but picking up on what Pastor Bob said there, I know that there's a lot of advocacy coming from the Ministers Association and a lot of the churches, but maybe there needs to be a little more concentrated activity, and that is promotion, in the community, so that the community knows more about what is being advocated for. And I think that way you could generate a lot more support.
Your point is well taken.
That's a great point. Thank you, Mr. Banks. I know this voice, of course.
So I thought so as well.
My favorite caller. Did you want to add anything else?
No. That's all I want to say. It's a great message that the pastors are delivering.
And you're a great citizen of West Bay and the whole island.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banks, for your call and for your comments and sharing your thoughts. Yes, it is a good suggestion. And in fact, I think in the WhatsApp messages that I received, I think somebody did allude to that as well. I'm going to read a couple of these messages. One person did say, When they were growing up, after church on Sundays, they were to take naps and not go out of the house. This was in your time?
Oh, yes.
I mean, do you find that families are still doing this, or just more so sticking and doing more family events, family days on Sundays?
Yes, I think we are still doing fairly well as a nation here in the Cayman Islands, where we generally set aside Sunday as the day of rest. And it's very interesting. When they were building the railroad across the United States, there was an experiment. They had one group working 7 days a week, another group working 6 days a week. And the group that worked 6 days a week and took 1 day for rest, they had more production, they had less accidents, they had a greater sense of achievement, so that we are made to take time for ourselves, and it will make a difference.
I absolutely agree with you, and doctors will tell us that.
Exactly.
And even the whole people say, no, I only need 4 or 5 hours of sleep and I'm good. No, I'm on my third coffee right now, and I already got maybe 6 hours of sleep, which is just the minimum for me. It has to be 6 to 7 hours, definitely. And I know that because my body needs to restore itself. It needs to rest. I have to come back stronger. And if I keep depleting my energy sources, I have less to give. So it does make sense to have that restful day and not always be working. That even in younger generations, there's a mentality like never stop working, always hustling, and that's not always the healthiest approach to take. We do have another comment from somebody on WhatsApp, and they said, ask Pastor Torrance when last has he walked through his neighborhood, speaking to all the neighbors, witnessing and praying for them, or if he ever held an outdoor church service in that area. I know Pastor Gareth, so Pastor Haylock here, I know Pastor Haylock always has outdoor outreach services. And they wanted to say they're not being rude and asking the question. They're just honestly asking the question as this person on WhatsApp is not aware, Pastor Bob, if you do the same.
Yes, well, we appreciate that question. I do want to say that in my mind, it's important for us to do what we know God would have us to do. We cannot do everything, and we have to be very selective in what we do. And in my mind, it's not just action. It has to be meaningful action. You want to ensure that what you do accomplishes its purpose. And one of the things that we do in our church, we have so structured things with various groups so that they would reach out in their various areas, because it is not really productive for me to try to personally do a whole lot in a particular area. I have to learn to delegate if I'm going to be effective. And I cannot say that I have done what the caller or what the person indicated. I am not physically able to do that, but I am able to accomplish the work of the Great Commission, where Jesus has asked me to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. I cannot go into all the world, but I can do all that I can by structuring and teaching our congregation so that they in turn can do the work of the ministry.
Okay, excellent.
It is. I do know the caller didn't identify themselves, but we did it a whole lot more. Even we started in the, I would imagine, probably the early 90s doing these meetings, and we had them all around the place. But I see times are changing so much. Like people before we would be having these meetings in an area, and people would stop, turn down their windows and listen for a while at least and move on. And now people are just like speeding across, because we tried to get as close to the roads as possible. And we did a lot of particular areas down in the Watercourse Road junction with Turtle Farm. We had an area there that we did almost every Saturday night, and there were things. But people would still come out and congregate. Today, everybody houses are air conditioned, and to Pastor Bob's reasoning, a lot of times now to go out, you go out and you don't always have to know who you're preaching to, but sometimes you never get an audience bigger or added to what you take. You there ministering, but you don't know who's hearing or whatever. So what we've done recently was take it to brethren's yards, where we can, somebody say, well, I would like my area to be evangelized, and we have a PA system, and we would go there in their private yards. We carry the chairs, we got the system. All we need is electricity to run the system. And we have done that for years in different places, but it's getting harder to really minister on that level nowadays.
Well, I have two questions for you. One is, why is it getting harder? What is making it harder? And the second question is, when you're doing these more yard gatherings and able to minister there, more outreach like that, are you finding different people that are not necessarily coming to the church, but they will come to the yard gatherings?
Yes, I've seen that. To that last question, I've seen people show up to these meetings. Once you go into the area, it usually people would sort of gravitate to where the sound, because most of the time we limit messages maybe like 15 minutes, just mostly singing, and people would come around and then we'll say a word. I usually chair the service. And we get we minister to people like that, and then throw out an invitation from that service. Give our location, and
have you seen them come?
On several occasions, we've gotten people come to the service like that.
Okay, thank you. And why is it a little harder to be able to do these gatherings?
To do the gathering now. Other than that, you see, we identified in West Bay right now where Russ, what's the name?
McRuss?
Mac Russ. They just built the owner, Mr. Bergman Ebanks, he gave us for years, we could use his parking lot we just parked to one side so that it didn't disturb his customers, and we could set up and house service and minister to the people going to and fro from the business. But again, that spot is taken away because, it's under different, and it's become a lot more busy, and the ones in the watercourse area down by Super C, we sort of got crowded out of that yard as well for different reasons. Okay. And
so it's more looking for other spaces.
To find the ideal place now is becoming a lot more of a problem.
Well, hopefully people will hear this and will reach out in an attempt to help to find more areas where you can have these more community outreach, the yard gatherings where you can minister. I do have another comment, and that came via WhatsApp, and I don't know if this is the person being rather cheeky, but this comment is directed towards me, and it said, "Kathy, this has to be tough on you. Pastor Bob and Gary Haylock, Kathy, you need to involve God more in your daily life." And that does make me chuckle a little bit, but clearly they don't really know me that well, because I do involve God in my life, and I do believe God. And could I do better? Absolutely. Do I sometimes compare myself with people that I know that hold that picture of they consider themselves a very Christian person? I can definitely tell you that I might not be in the church all the time, but I am doing much better than a lot of people who claim to be living in such Christian ways. So I believe in God. I pray. I may not be in the church, but that doesn't mean that I'm not somebody of faith.
So you fit right in with us then.
Well, not right in. No, my knowledge definitely isn't there. Yeah, but yes.
Paul said, comparing ourselves among ourselves, he said that's not wise.
Yes.
We have a measuring rod. He said, till we all come through the unity of the faith and until we come to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. That's our measurement.
Yes.
You know, but if I say I'm just as good as Katherine, she says she's just as good as Pastor Bob. But how good are we?
Right.
But when we measure against Christ...
I'm definitely not near there. That's for sure. We have to go to a commercial break right now. I might keep you guys with me till 1:30 unless you run out during this commercial break. It's okay. But right now, let's go to a break and get some of those messages in.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Subway makes it easy for you to stay on top of your health and wellness goals with our Fresh Fit menu options. Choose from 5 Fresh Fit Subway sandwiches with only 450 calories or less per 6-inch sub. Turkey breast, veggie, oven-roasted chicken, Black Forest ham, sweet onion chicken teriyaki, or make your 6-inch Fresh Fit sub into a salad or wrap prepared with fresh vegetables. For a full menu and nutritional information, visit subway.ky. Subway. Eat fresh. Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the listening to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks, and in me with the studio longer than we thought we would go, so I'm quite happy. Thanks for staying with me this afternoon. We do have Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock. We initially came on and we were discussing what the Cayman Ministers Association are doing for Easter and the different Easter events, and we kicked off yesterday with Palm Sunday, and then tomorrow we have our National Day of Prayer. And that is tomorrow, April 12th, 12 noon to 12:50 p.m. The location is at the lawn of the Glass House. And if you are driving here to try to make it for the National Day of Prayer, please consider parking behind immigration. There's a big parking lot back there. Some people may be gone for lunch and not joining us for the National Day of Prayer, which will make me sad. So we encourage you to come and take their parking while they're gone and join us. There's quite a few themes that we're seeing, at least in Cayman, over these past couple years, that pastors will be asking everybody to join the community in prayer. So one of those themes, we haven't been able to touch on it as yet. You know, we went through some of the comments that people gave, and we took some callers, and we'll continue to take callers until 1:30 for this segment. Is Pastor Haylock, or not Pastor Haylock, Pastor Torrance, you talked about the high cost of living, employment, unemployment issues. You touched on domestic violence issues as well. And to me, I think that's a very, very hard thing to deal with, especially if you're a pastor, because I assume that if I came to you and I said, I'm in a terrible domestic violence situation and my husband or partner is beating me and I need to get out, I understand that the Bible doesn't want to separate man and wife in marriage, that you should stay in marriage. I would assume that you might say, no, try to make it work. Try to, go through the counseling, whatever we could do. I'm not sure. But when a person is going through this and it just, there's no change. I mean, to me, one hit is enough and I'm not going to be back. I couldn't imagine anybody enduring this kind of behavior. But how, from that point of view, when somebody comes to you, how do you try to help them through that situation?
Yeah, well, I do not think that violence within a marriage should be tolerated. That is not the will of God, and that should not be done. So that we do not encourage people to stay in a relationship at all costs. In other words, if this is, just affecting you detrimentally, you should not continue to stay there and expose yourself to that type of violence. We do not encourage that. We certainly would try to maintain the marriage, but not at all costs.
Okay, thank you for answering that. And that's why I said I assume, and I was very pointed in saying that. I stress that word because I know in some situations where it has been encouraged to stay, but I'm not in the church and I don't go to a pastor to ask for this kind of advice and guidance. So I think it's important for people to hear, what you would say in this kind of a situation.
Yeah. And what I think is very unfortunate is that many people get married without proper counseling. They don't understand what are the requirements of marriage. To get a driver's license, you have to go through training.
Yes.
For marriage, you just see this person, you love them, and of course these days they just start shacking up.
Yes.
Which is so bad,
Yes.
So that we encourage people to properly prepare themselves for marriage.
Okay, which I need a lesson on that one. We do have, I can laugh at myself, it's true. We do have a caller online, I believe. Silver Fox, we got a caller? All right, let's take this call. Good afternoon, thanks for calling Talk Today.
Hey, I wanted to thank the gentlemen, the pastors, again for their great words of advice and encouragement. Yes, definitely our families are in great need, as you said, from the time they're courting and dating right up to marriage. Families definitely are in crisis. We are the divorce capital of the world. I mean, being such a Christian place, that is a shameful title. But I really wanted to call to say what a great and wonderful thing it is to celebrate. Not the crucifixion, but of course the resurrection of Christ. Easter is probably, well, in my mind, the greatest event of the year. And I just wanted to share that because the same way there were two criminals dying on the cross on the other side of Christ, that is you and I. There's no degree of separation. As you're in or you're out, and all you have to do is make that leap of faith, as small as it may be, and you're in the door. And you can work it out from there. No one comes to Christ perfect. In fact, no one is perfect. So come as you are, as the churches say, and go to church, of course, on Easter. Take it seriously. And also, the great thing about COVID I've found is that many people have become more spiritual. Not always Christian. Some are, seeking whatever path they like, yoga, religion, whatever. But many Caymanians have rediscovered their faith during these couple of years of COVID. Not all are in church every Sunday, but they are out there. So I think the church needs to continue to do its work and embrace and welcome those people and rebuild our faith in Cayman. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was a very positive comment. I would agree that there is a lot of renewed faith during this time as well. So that's important. Have you seen that as well, gentlemen?
Yes and no.
Okay. I mean, that's an honest answer.
Because what I've is the caller's gone.
Are you still there or? No, the caller's gone.
what I see happening now, that there are some people that has become so complacent. I'm talking from my standpoint right now in our congregation. We do a live Facebook
event, I think they call it, a live Facebook event.
As we, like, our service is connected to Facebook now for those that can go on and find a Church of God at Westby.
That's excellent.
So some people have gotten so used to being home and turning on Facebook time, and they put it there and they watch the service, and they forget that the scripture says that God has charged us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together as the manner of some is. So I've seen some traces, not at all, or less traces of people more willing to stay home now and watch it over their face, watch the service coming in like this. But there's quite a few that have decided I would prefer to stay safe from COVID and view it over Facebook. Now, some people are just so anxious. They come out and they say, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for helping me to get back to church one more time." So I've seen it gone both ways.
Okay. What about you, Pastor Torrance?
Yes, I do agree with Pastor Haylock. One of the things, though, that I am noticing is that people are recognizing their need for God.
Yes.
And we are seeing many, many people coming to the church, coming to the Lord. As a matter of fact, I am noticing in our own congregation, probably about 20% of the people who are coming, I'm seeing them for the first time. You know, people are naturally seeking God, even though things are bad. And on the one hand, there are those who are really reaching out for God. Yeah.
Excellent. And on that note, before we have to go to our final, or our commercial break, our 1:30 break, just remind people that tomorrow we are having our National Day of Prayer. What can people expect to experience when they join us on the Glasshouse lawn from 12 noon tomorrow?
Yes, when they join us, they are participating in something that will help our nation. We'll be praying for our leaders, we'll be praying for our people, and they will be a part of a solution to the problems that we are having.
Amen.
We'll be praying for all the various segments of our society. And please, I want to emphasize again the sunrise services, 3 locations on Easter Sunday morning at 6 o'clock, 7 Mile Beach, at the Prospect Docks, and then East End opposite the United Church.
Excellent.
And you said 7 Mile, that's the public beach.
7 Mile Public Beach, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you want to add anything before we go to our commercial break?
No, I'm just glad for the privilege of being able to get the sort of the pulse of our people one more time, to let them to know that we are inviting them to be a part of this great annual event.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Bless.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this afternoon and for staying on a lot longer than you anticipated, but I appreciate it because we did have some cancellations at the last minute for Talk Today. So I appreciate because you've also helped me and made our show this afternoon more dynamic. So
thank you for accommodating us.
Thank you. And again, tomorrow, the National Day of Prayer, 12 noon at the Glasshouse lawn. We're going to go to our commercial break, and then we're going to have Open Line. We have so much to talk about, K-Man, so join me for Open Line next.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Kirk Freeport's Easter at Bayshore family event is back. This Easter Saturday, April 16th. Hop down to the Bayshore Mall in Georgetown from 4 to 6 p.m. for sweet treats including popcorn, snow cones, and cotton candy. Don't miss the Easter bunnies or scavenger hunt with chocolate prizes. Plus, there's face painting and musical entertainment. The event is free, with free parking behind the mall for parents too. Visit KirkFreeport.com for more information. Happy Easter from Kirk Freeport.
Every day in the Cayman Islands, nonprofits and their volunteers work tirelessly, improving our communities and the lives of the people within them.
With GiversPlanet.com, you can make a difference by supporting a fundraising effort or starting your own. Givers Planet provides an online solution to conveniently raise money for your worthy cause. Whether you are fundraising for medical needs, education, animal welfare, youth programs, religious missions, school PTA efforts, or a nonprofit.
Simply create your fundraiser at GiversPlanet.com and spread the word to your local and international supporters so that they can visit and make a secure online donation. Start fundraising online today with GiversPlanet.com.
Throughout the history of pageantry, we've seen strong women represent the Cayman Islands on the international stage. They have gone on to create their own businesses, serve in public office, and continue to give back to our islands. Today, we are looking for more Caymanian women like these, who are strong, intelligent, and wish to give back to our community. If you wish to take part in the Miss World Cayman Islands pageant and to go on to represent the Cayman Islands at the Miss World pageant in 2022, please contact MissWorldCayman@gmail.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
Listen to the general public.
The Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman Talk today.
Because
there are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman waiting to take your calls right now.
What the public would think.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. In the first segment of today's show, we welcome Pastor Torrance Bob and Pastor Gareth Haylock, and we talked about the National Day of Prayer as well as the other events the Cayman Ministers Association is having for Easter this year. And we had another WhatsApp that came in, and it was in regards to when I had asked Pastor Bob about the domestic violence issue, and if somebody was coming to a pastor and saying, "Hey, I'm enduring this. What can I do, or what should I do?" And the person who came in to give their info to me, because I said, I know the Bible will say, one thing about you shouldn't divorce, and the person who WhatsApp said the Bible says separation but not divorced, and then the person said Acts 2 verse 38, I believe verse is the correct word to use here. Verse 38. Act 2, verse 38. Don't laugh at me. And I know the other person who WhatsApp saying, "Kathy, you need God in your life," is probably going to be like, this is why you need God in your life, because you gave that section out, maybe incorrectly. Now, the numbers to call are 1-800-534-8255 or 949-8037 or 949-6990. You can continue to WhatsApp me. I'm enjoying getting these messages. The number is for WhatsApp, 925-3261. Now, we had quite an eventful weekend, and I know all of you are thinking the same, so let's touch on some government news, which was quite eventful as of yesterday. So probably the biggest piece of news coming out from the weekend is the removal of Minister Bernie Bush as the Minister for Home Affairs. The Premier announced on Sunday that the Ministry of Home Affairs will be reassigned to Minister Sabrina Turner, effective today, following Minister Bernie Bush's recent infringements of Section 55 of the Constitution and breaches to 2 sections of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. I want our callers to know that I did reach out to Minister Bush. He is still the Minister for Youth, Sports and Culture. So please understand that he is not removed as a minister. He just does not have home affairs under his ministry. It has been, or I should say Minister Sabrina Turner will now be having that ministry, that section to deal with in her ministry. So the Premier did send out a press release, and that went on to say that, got to find the press release first before I can tell you what that press release said. So I'm going to pull that one up, but I know that there's a little bit of controversy in the fact that this just happened over the weekend is interesting. There's some, there's stories, and there's always going to be stories about what happened. However, we should keep in mind that government has their position. Minister Bush still has his ministries to deal with, and we're going to see how things are looking moving forward. So I hope that everything will be smoothed out. I hope that things will come to light. I hope that rumors will be laid to rest. I did ask Minister Bush if he would like to come on Talk Today this afternoon to make any mention of the incident that did happen, if he'd like to speak on what happened. And he did let me know that he is in caucus all day today and he's unable to do so. But he appreciates the offer being made, so we did try to get a little word from Minister Bush, and hopefully he will be joining us in the future to discuss what happened. So I'm finally pulling up the press release. Thanks for bearing with me while I had to find my words to share with you there. And my computer is moving slower than I move on a Monday morning. I didn't move that fast today, Paul. I had some prep to do for Talk Today. All right, so to read the press release that was issued by Premier Panton yesterday. The Premier announced today that the Ministry of Home Affairs will be reassigned to Minister Sabrina Turner effective today, Monday, 11th of April, following Minister Bernie Bush's recent infringements of Section 55 of the Constitution and breaches to 2 sections of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. The PACT government adopted a Ministerial Code of Conduct on the 27th of July, 2021, and in so doing made a commitment to not only uphold the Code of Conduct, but to accept consequences if the code was breached by a minister. The Premier said, quote, Minister Bush's conduct and comments in relation to the staffing of the fire service are infringements of Section 55 of the Constitution and breach Section 2.4 of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. Furthermore, other comments he made as minister contravene Section 2.6.3 of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. We all agreed to hold ourselves to certain standards of conduct when adopting the Ministerial Code of Conduct last year. The consequence for this breach is, in part, that the responsibility for the Ministry of Home Affairs will be reassigned to Minister Sabrina Turner effective Monday, 11th of April, 2022. End quote. In addition to the above, or in addition to what I said, reminder that I'm reading the press release, the Premier also required Minister Bush to apologize for his conduct to the Governor, the Deputy Governor, and the former Acting Chief Officer in the Ministry of Home Affairs, and he will be subject to 2 weeks unpaid leave effective Monday, April 18th. During Minister Bush's leave, Parliamentary Secretary Isaac Rankin will act as Minister of Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage. Minister Bernie Bush is quoted as saying, "This has been a valuable lesson for me, and I accept the consequence of my actions. The Premier continues to have my full confidence and support." End quote. There's another quotation here from the Premier who said, "I believe Minister Bush can make a substantial contribution to the good of our country in the areas of youth, sports, culture, and heritage. These subjects align well with his interests and experience and his passion. I am optimistic that the unfortunate events of the past will bear no reflection on his future performance." End quote. Oh, not really an end quote. There's another quote from the Premier in here, and it's saying, "My hope is that the members of Parliament will adopt broadly similar obligations and standards in a parliamentary code of conduct to be observed by all members of Parliament, and if that code is breached, members of Parliament should similarly face consequences." That brought us to the end of that press release, and I would like to hear what our community has to say. Remember, you can give me a call, 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, 949-6990, or WhatsApp us at 925-3261. A reminder that I did reach out to Minister Bush to see if he wanted to share his experience, any further thoughts on what had happened on Talk Today. I understand that he may not be able to do so at this moment, but he did respond to me today, and he did thank me for the opportunity, as he always does. He's quite gracious when I speak with him, and he is in caucus, so he's unable to join us. But I do hope, again, in the future that we will hear from Mr. Bush, and hopefully even the Premier, and just kind of see how this turn of events happened, and why they really considered it a breach. Unfortunately, those sections of the Constitution aren't given in this press release, which was Section 55 of the Constitution, and breaches to two sections of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. So those Section 55 of the Constitution and breach Section 2.4 and Section 2.6.3. So those are the sections to look at if anybody happens to have a copy of the Constitution lying around. I do not, so I can't say exactly as to what parts that Constitution is talking about. I can't bring that up right now. However, you got the information, so you can do the research if you would like, and let me know what your thoughts are on that. So that is one of the big pieces of news coming from government this weekend, and quite a shakeup, in my opinion. So I see people in the back in the studio there nodding along with me, saying, "Yeah, it's a pretty interesting shakeup for sure." So hopefully things will go good, and we can move on, and lessons were learned, and there's no hard feelings. It's probably way easy for me to say that there's no hard feelings. Now, a second big piece of news, also released on a Sunday, is about the stipends and business grants that will continue with a further of $4.9 million in funding. Again, that was announced in a press release Sunday. We have to go to a commercial break right now, but I hope you're going to be calling me with your thoughts. I think I have a couple of WhatsApps, and the numbers to call again are 1-800-534-8255, 949-8037, or 949-6990. You can also try to WhatsApp me at 925-3261. But right now, we're going to go to a commercial break.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Subway is serving up a special new sauce, bursting with flavor in every bite. The new Savory Collection is a tropical sweet and spicy sauce made with a combination of spices, habanero peppers, thyme, onion, black pepper, ginger, citrus juices, and molasses.
So good. Wow. Sensational. Delicious.
Subway's Savory Collection pairs perfectly with our oven-roasted chicken or steak sub. Savor the flavor. For a limited time, only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh.
It's Kirk Freeport's 50th anniversary, and we're celebrating with you. If it's your 50th birthday in 2022, we have a $50 gift card for you. If you're celebrating your 50th wedding anniversary or higher, it's $500. We'll also donate $50,000 to charities and increase the rewards for store purchases too. Purchases of $500 will receive branded gifts, while purchases of $100 gain entry into our monthly sweepstakes with prizes from luxury brands. View terms and conditions on KirkFreeport.com.
Research tells us that the best age for parents to start having conversations with their children about the dangers of underage drinking is when their kids are 9 years old. Studies show that parents have a significant influence on young people's decision to drink. So talk, they are listening. The NDC offers parents advice on how to talk to their children about underage drinking and prepares you for the tough questions like, did you drink as a child? For tips, log on to www.ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
All right, welcome back to Talk Today this afternoon. My name is Kathy Miller, and I'm filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. And thank you to our listeners that have been sticking with me on the show so far, those who have called in. Now that we do have open line, I am encouraging you to call in because we do have a couple things that we can express, we can talk about. While I have to tread lightly on the previous situation that I had just mentioned, I can still collect your thoughts and have you air them, and we can go from there. You know, the government deciding to take away home affairs from Minister Bernie Bush and to reassign that to Minister Sabrina Turner because they they have decided that Minister Bush has breached sections of the Ministerial Code of Conduct. How do we feel about that? Is it a great thing that this Code of Conduct, which was made in, I think it was end of July 2021, is it a great thing that our elected members have stuck to this Code of Conduct and said, hey, we made this Code of Conduct, we do believe you have breached it, this is what the decision is, and this is the consequence of it? Is it possibly an overreaction? Are we overreacting to the comments that Mr. Bush had made, and perhaps it could have been dealt with in a different manner? So those are a couple things to look at. Are we happy that, hey, you know, we did put this Code of Conduct out and we are following it? Because we know in the past that there's been several things that were very questionable and we definitely needed this Code of Conduct. So are we happy that it's being followed and not only just implemented but actually being followed, or should a lighter action have been taken? I do believe we have a caller on the line. All right. Thank you for calling Talk Today this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Katherine.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thanks. I hope you had a good weekend. We got a busy week ahead of us again.
We do.
Politics is surely getting thick. I don't want to comment too much on the situation about Minister Bush.
No
but
problem.
In my opinion, and I guess I'm entitled to my opinion like everybody else is there, in my opinion, Bernie Bush done what all politicians do, or over the years. I wouldn't say all politicians. I don't know how to rephrase it, because it has happened that politicians have got people's jobs, have influenced people to get people's jobs. In my opinion, and if this is what, because I heard that Mr. Manderson had said that he was not aware that this job was offered to the candidate of the post. So if Bernie went ahead and appointed, which I don't see where Bernie can go ahead, appoint a job to someone without everybody knowing, because this individual that was getting that job was also another government department. So he had to give notice to that department to know that employee was going to move from that department to another department.
Right.
That's my opinion. But it also goes back to show that we need to make sure what we do, make sure that everybody's being paid, because I can see where if Bernie went ahead and appointed, but in my opinion, the reason why that Bernie got pulled down as much as he did, and I think they kind of overreacted, and we need to hold them accountable. I'm not saying that we don't hold people accountable, but we need the reason why that Bernie got so pulled out, in my opinion, was because the comments that he made and I'm not being biased, I'm not being racist or anything, on the Englishman, saying to slap the Englishman down or punch him in the face or whatever, and our gatekeeper, who is also from that nationality, is making sure that Bernie is not going, or nobody in this country is going to have anything to say about their people. Because in my opinion, if it had been somebody else, it would have probably been overlooked and not even said anything. And that's my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm, as I said, that's just how I feel about it. Other people might feel the same way. On another note, it was this morning, I don't know if you listened to the talk show this morning, OC's on...
A little bit. I caught a little bit of it, yes.
They were talking about land ownership and your people purchasing land and, overselling land and whatever. I have a suggestion for the government, and I don't think it is a out-of-reach suggestion. Right now, we are hearing that in order for you to get Cayman status, you can walk a dog. You can come and buy a piece of land.
If you have $1 million.
To get $1 million, you get $1 million and you can buy. Why don't we got a moratorium right now on the water sports that we're not allowing no more people into the water sports industry. Because right now we are overpopulated. Caymanians are outnumbered in their own country. A suggestion. We need to put a moratorium on Cayman status now. We have given away too much. If you want to come to our country, this is what we are requiring. You can acquire PR, but you're not getting status now. Status are we're going to put status on hold for another 10 years, and you will see how many want to be in Cayman. You will see. Because they just want to be in Cayman for that money. Because what they're going to do, when they purchase a piece of land, they buy it from the poor Caymanians that maybe can't day-to-day meet. They're struggling through finances and everything. And they make the proposal, I can give you $100,000 for that piece of land. And they turn around and sell it for $400,000 or $600,000. Because I got a great example, like I told OC this morning. I got a great example. A piece of land right in my neighborhood in West Bay. It was sold in 1974 for $3,000. The land was evaluated 6 years ago, valuing $150,000. The person that has the land now it's a foreigner. It's a foreigner. Mm-hmm. Now they got it up for sale, and the real estate has now evaluated that piece of land for $699,000. You think? And I made an offer to purchase a piece of land, and I said even if it went up to $20,000, that would give $50,000 in 5 years.
When did you make the offer?
I made offer from last year March. Last year December. Okay. I made an offer to purchase that piece of land, only to be told that the land is now $699,000. You think that an average Caymanian to afford that? No. So this is why government needs to now step in, do it. The government needs to do it just like Canada did, and we're much smaller than Canada.
Oh, yeah.
The Prime Minister of Canada has now stepped in. I don't know what date it was. It's all over social media.
I'll tell you. I can tell you.
No foreigners can't buy a house in Canada no more.
Thank God.
We need to now put it in Cayman that we're not selling no more land.
Yes.
We're not selling no more land to foreigners. No, they can come and lease a piece of land, but they can't own it. You will see how many won't be here because they've thrown us for the mince cow, and they're going to milk us as long as they can milk us because we're too much a law-abiding, and we try. And again, our desperation of people's property is the problem. They're undervaluing people's property so that they can get it, and when they get it, they sell it for what they want, and it's wrong. The government needs to step in and say, we are putting a moratorium. And yes, people are not going to like it. You'll hear that's a free enterprise, but government needs to step in because the people are overpriced. The people that are in the real estate are not Caymanians. Majority of them are not Caymanians, and they're overpricing the property so the Caymanians cannot afford to buy it.
Well,
where is our children and next generation going over to buy a piece of land in their own country?
Can I respond?
Sure.
I think you made some great points with Canada. Because I'm from Canada, Vancouver, and that the foreign land ownership is a huge problem there, and that's mostly Chinese nationals who have bought up the city of Vancouver. You can find a condemned home, a very, very small condemned home, for maybe $1 million on the outskirts of the city, and that's a condemned home on a very small. And that's a million Canadian, which is quite a lot less than the Cayman dollar. But I could see this 16 years ago, before I moved here to Cayman. I could see what was happening, and it was a problem then, and it grew. And I mean, there's parts of Canada that people don't want to move to, and I don't blame you. And there's the parts that you do want to move to because there's a lot more action and opportunity and just a better quality of life. And I think it's great that the Canadian government did this. It's a 2-year ban. I think that's a great thing. I also want to point out that New Zealand did the same thing in 2018. It's not a ban for 2 years. New Zealand stopped any foreign home ownership, land ownership in New Zealand, unless it's from, I think, Australia, or I'm going to say, I forget the little islands, what they'll call those little island nations, like Tonga.
That's a small population compared to New Zealand.
Yeah. Well, New Zealand is still bigger than us, but way smaller than Canada. But it was effective for them, and again, because they could see what is happening. They want to ensure that can our people have the opportunity to live here, to buy land here. And you'd made a point where, let's put the moratorium on status, and let's see if people still want to have their status in 10 years, and if they really want to be here. But even from that, I mean, we're having Caymanians that it's not only not only Caymanians that can't afford. You do have expats like myself. I can't afford to buy here. I've been here for 16 years. I can't afford to do it. I can't afford to do it back home right now either. So are we just supposed to move to other, Caymanians included? Are we all supposed to just move to other places in the world where it's much apparently cheaper to live? I don't think so. I think that's terrible. Like, why can't we find a land or opportunity here to live and build on? So I believe, this is my personal belief, that there has to be some restrictions that government implements. Or if we're going to go to the affordable housing part, because what people aren't remembering when it comes to development and real estate sales, it was over 1.5 billion in sales in 2021. So that's, I think, is the highest record of sales we've ever reached for the Cayman Islands. That is.
Find out who purchased all the sales. I bet you 90% was foreigners.
Well, yes, there's a huge chunk of it coming from foreigners. Luckily, there was a smaller percentage coming from Caymanians who were able to take advantage of the pension holiday and be able to invest in homes there. But then we're looking at people who have to foreclose because of what people losing their jobs during the pandemic, not able to pay their bills, no matter what the banks did for the little breaks that they gave people. That's great, but you still have to come and pay that back.
You still got to pay it back. They didn't waive anything. You still got to pay the interest. You still pay what all that back pay.
Right.
You just make it longer in debt.
Yes, exactly. So there's so many different things, but then even though the demand for property is so much higher, the inventory is so much lower. Despite the inventory being so much lower, there still is approved building permit values that have reached the highest they've ever reached in our history that was approved in the past year. So we know that in the next couple of years, we're going to be getting even much more development. But what are the developers going through? Well, you're looking at the shipping costs and the containers going from, $3,000 to $12,000 or $13,000, depending on where these containers are coming from. That's wildly insane. The cost of products and material, it's a lot less being produced. And again, the costs there have gone up wildly. So even yes, there's some very selfish developers out there that just want to really make that money. I get it. It's capitalism as well. I get it. But there's also developers that want to be able to build for Cayman a sustainable living and future for Cayman and Caymanians, like more affordable housing. It's hard for them to do that. Then we have to look at the planning and the zoning laws. why can't we have more apartments structured inland, not necessarily right on the beach, which again are selling for what, $1 million a piece, $750,000 for a little tiny bedroom in an apartment structure. Why can't we rezone or change those planning laws where we can have apartment buildings, not 2-story, I mean like 20-story buildings, something like that, inland more where people can live? Why can't we look at those as solutions?
I mean, government has come a point now that government has to step in and say no, enough is enough, and we can. Unless the government puts steps in, it's not going to happen. We all know that. If government doesn't step in and do something about it, it's not going to happen. And the thing about it, we got all these people, all these nationalities that are coming here. They are coming here as dive masters. A lot of them now that have gone into the real estate because the market has become so good for them, have now left the water sports industry as dive masters and gone into real estate. Now, you see, that's another thing. When the country shut down in 2020, the tourism crashed, because we crashed.
Yeah.
The people that was in the tourism industry that were not Caymanians, they were on work permits, in my opinion, should have been told that they had to leave this country because the country could not afford to sustain them, not allow them to go into another industry and take on Caymanians again. Because that's what they did. They went into the banking, they went into law firms, they came here as dive masters. They chose to be dive masters. They should not have been able to change their permits to accommodate another job. It is wrong. The government is wrong, the immigration is wrong, and whoever encouraged it, again, it's who you know and who know you. So they're talking about Barney Bush with his conflict, whatever he had, is wrong. It's the same thing that happened today is what happened then. Because the government, the same PAC government that we got in power now, when it crashed, or during the crash, the PPM was the other one, well, the PPM should have actually fixed it from then. But the other government took over, they said they were coming to solve the solution. They should have put a stop to it and said, no, we're not, if you're in tourism and you're on a work permit, we give you X amount of time. Unfortunately, you have to leave. If the industry comes back up and you want to come, policeman, you go ahead. If you want to come back into the industry, you come back after the economy is back up and running. But it should not happen at that time. They only drain the coffers of Cayman people because they took from them. And until we get somebody that's going to stand up, so I would like the PAC government to tell me what they did to solve that problem. Because these people should not have been able to jump from one job to the next when they had a specific department where they were in at that time, a job industry. So tell me what it did about that one. So if that burning, if didn't budget then, we wouldn't have had burning.
I would like to continue this conversation with you, but I'm getting glaring looks from the studio because I'm 4 minutes past the hour for our headline news. So if I welcome you to call us back after the news, you can join me and we can keep talking. But if you're done, you're done too, and I can still address the comments that you said. But I have to go to the news right now.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Cayman Islands National Museum will be closing today at 3:15 p.m. to facilitate staff training. Tomorrow, the museum will resume normal opening hours. In international news, an IS fanatic has been found guilty of murdering Sir David Ames, MP. The Southend West MP was stabbed more than 20 times during a constituency surgery in Leigh-on-Sea, Essex, on October 15, 2021. The jury took just 18 minutes to convict Ali Harbi Ali of murder and preparing acts of terrorism. Mexico's President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has won a referendum on whether he should step down or complete his 6-year term. More than 90% of those who cast their votes said they wanted the president to stay in office, a quick count suggests. But turnout was low at less than 19%, according to preliminary figures. The president had called the unprecedented referendum, which critics said was a tactic to distract from his government's failures. In Mexico, presidents are limited to a single 6-year term in office. The tomb where the biblical figure Joseph is said to be buried has been vandalized by Palestinians amid spiraling tensions with Israel. The site in Nablus in the occupied West Bank was attacked in what Israel's prime minister called a frenzy of destruction. There has been a spate of Israeli and Palestinian deaths in recent days, including deadly attacks which have caused shock across Israel. Israel has promised a strong response. These are your latest headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, and I'm filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks today. I believe tomorrow you're going to be joined by my sales colleague, Anita Fawcett-Kahn. She'll be hosting Talk Today tomorrow. I don't know if the caller is still there. Oh, the caller is gone. And in this part of Talk Today, we're having open line, and we had a caller coming in, I believe from West Bay. I think she said she was from West Bay, and was giving her opinions, and I do want to say you're never wrong when you're giving your opinion. It's your opinion, and you should be able to share your opinion, and there should be a discussion around it. Even if somebody doesn't agree with what you'd said, it doesn't mean you're wrong in giving your opinion. So I think that's always important, and I think you did so in a respectful manner. So some great points were made. Again, we're going back to that issue of affordable housing. So it's a very real thing. We really need to look at the cost of buying property here in Cayman. And one of the things that we didn't get to finish off that conversation with the caller, unless they're going to call back, but one of the other things we have to keep in mind is that the government did say, I believe it was in their strategic policy statement, but they did say that for economic recovery, they're very much relying heavily on development. So we can expect to see still a lot more development going on. And as I mentioned previous to the break, that in the last year, we saw the building permit values reach the highest they've reached in history for the Cayman Islands. So there is definitely going to be a lot more development happening, and government is relying. They have promised that they are relying on that. I believe we do have a caller, so let's take that call. Good afternoon, and thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Kathy. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm rough, regular, poor, sober, and ugly. But thankful and blessed.
What did you just say? Something, an ugly? Don't say that.
Yeah, it's true. Life is rough, but it's okay.
Yes. Yeah, it can be rough.
I'm poor. Nothing wrong with that.
As long as you're happy.
Sober. Oh, yes.
Me too.
I'm sober, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
Okay, so rough, regular, poor, sober, and ugly. And ugly is the best part.
How's that the best part?
All right, let me explain ugly then for you.
Okay.
Under God's loving yoke.
Oh.
L-Y.
Okay, well, I like that acronym. I can agree with you there. That's what I like then.
What I called about is the last caller. Yes, she is right in most instances, but do we hold someone accountable, or do we just let them do what they feel like doing because they are the ministers? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a friend, or I think so anyway, of Mr. Bush. But if you do wrong, you do wrong. He has accepted, according to what I'm hearing, that he has done wrong.
Yes, he made the comment in the press release, yes.
We should be held accountable for our actions.
Yes.
And there is nothing that I would say that would castigate Mr. Bush in any way. I know him from school.
Right.
And he is a good man. I mean, like I said, I've been with him from school. But, I mean, the reason that none of us actually, you would say, behind bars, and I just use in that general, is because we haven't been caught.
Mm-hmm.
If we had been caught, all of us, not just some of us, all of us would be behind bars. Because there are things that I have done that would merit that. Things that you have done would merit that. But we haven't been caught. But we moved on from that and say, hey, look, we're not going to do it again.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think that sometimes we can commit the same crime, you and I, but we won't both receive the same punishment?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've seen that over and over.
Do you think the consequence that Mr. Bush has to face, do you think that's an overreaction, or do you think that that's a fit solution for what he did?
I don't know to the extent of what the punishment should be or shouldn't be. However, in my opinion, they have to start somewhere. If they made disagreement and policy and whatever else you want to call it, then if someone breaches it and is caught, they have to suffer the consequences. It's like the two young people that breached COVID. They didn't have COVID, but they breached it. They got charged. The young lady, as you would say, has been deported from Cayman until whatever time, I guess COVID is over, which we probably know that it won't be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is because, was that a bit harsh? I think so, but it was the consequences at that time that she got.
Okay, that's a fair answer. I think she deserved the consequence she was given. But again, that's my opinion, my perspective.
No, but when you look at it, yes, she knew better in a sense, but she was very young. Very, very young.
She was very young, but she wasn't dumb. She's a college student. I'm pre-med.
She's a college student. But let me ask another question then. How many others that have been caught for breaching the quarantine have actually been charged?
That I do not know. Well, I think there's been a few fines that have been out, right?
A few.
But again,
that have been caught, you know, I mean, and what is the severity of their actions?
We have seen a difference in those penalties being given out as well.
Exactly. That's my point.
We've also seen people want to exercise their privileges as to why they should not be so-called fined, and it's just it's kind of disgusting. So some people might think they're more privileged than others, and therefore they can go ahead and breach something.
Right. It's like some visitor coming in here with a bullet in their possession.
Right.
We don't know whether they got it here or brought it in. However, when they go to court, they're slapped with a fine on their, well, I call it a slap on their hand and set on their merry way.
Right.
If a local person, a resident of Cayman, and I use resident because not everyone is, you know, because someone's on work permit, you will go to prison in the store for 10 years.
Yes.
That's for having a firearm, or what they call a firearm, which is even a bullet. Is that fair? I don't think so.
In my opinion, no.
But I'm not the one handing down the sentence.
Right.
You know, so we can sit and debate it all day, but we're not the one to make the decision.
That's right.
And about the land, now I wholeheartedly say that, you know, prices have gone through the roof, period.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I know where I live, land used to go for $3,000. You're lucky Now, if you get a piece of swamp that is behind where I live for $100,000.
3,000. What year would you say that is? Yeah, no, that I get.
That was back in the 75, 76 area coming up.
Okay.
It changed dramatically, I would say, over the past 15, 20 years.
Yes.
Because I know my piece of property, which is just about a half an acre, was valued back 10 years, 15 years ago for nearly $500,000.
Okay. Do you still have that piece of property?
Yes, I do.
If you were considering to sell it and you got it evaluated,
no.
I'm just saying hypothetically, hypothetically here, if you were ever to consider selling it, and I think you said 10, 15 years ago it was valued at $500,000. Did you say that? Yeah. Correct? So now I guess you would get another evaluation, and let's say it was double that. Let's say it was valued at $1 million. Would you then say, hey, you know, I think because the demand is so high, I know that I could get more than what the valuation is? Would you consider wanting to make even a higher profit because there are people that will pay for it?
No, I wouldn't. I have a grandchild right now.
No, okay, yeah, but hypothetically, we're not thinking about that. So I'm going back to what the previous caller, did mention. And in my opinion, it is your business if you decide to sell a commodity that everybody wants at an even higher price. It's just how demand and supply works, right? So would you do that?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't.
Why?
I would not even put that thought in my mind of selling it.
Oh, we're supposed to be in a hypothetical situation here where you are considering selling it.
No, I'm not even thinking that way.
You're okay. All right. I feel like you're skirting around wanting to answer the hypothetical situation that I'm asking.
No, I'm not skirting around at all.
But for you, you're saving this piece of land for, as you said, you have a grandchild.
I have a grandchild, and who knows if I'm going to have any more or not. And
I think that's a beautiful thing.
They can do whatever they feel like it after I'm gone, because it'll be theirs.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing that you are holding on to that to give to family.
Oh, yes.
And I know there's some families that are doing that. There's some families that didn't do that, hoping, hey, maybe this is how I can provide.
Right.
And, I'm sure that they wish they held on to it.
Yeah. They're like the dog with the reflection in the water, seeing a bone in the water, thought that one was bigger than the one he had in his mouth. They opened his mouth, and he lost the one he had, too.
That sounds like my dog.
Anyway, Kathy, good talking with you.
Yes, thank you for calling. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us this afternoon.
Okay.
All right. We're going to go to a commercial break right now. And after that, we're just going to have we have a caller after the commercial break. So caller, hang on, or if not, just join us right after the commercial break.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences. We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the Toyota Corolla Cross, now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Talk today.
But I do have some questions.
Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participate. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Kathy Miller, filling in for Sterling Dwayne Banks. He's on vacation this week and next week. And I believe we have a caller on the line right now. Good afternoon, caller. Thanks for calling Talk Today.
How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Good. What would you like to share?
No, I'm not going to be here just a few minutes.
No problem.
When we're talking about Cayman Islands and exactly what's happening into this island, if we talk about property, hello?
Hello, I'm here.
I hear something in the background, sorry.
Yes, that was my phone via my computer that was ringing, so I apologize.
I get what I would call term as a sorrowful joke out of people with their property, that you're going to come as a valuator, if that's what you call yourself, and value my property, especially residential property. To me, I take that as something like a sacred gift or bond or whatever you want to choose it. There's no one that can come to my property and tell me what it's worth. To me, it does not have a value, meaning all of the money put in the Cayman Islands together cannot buy my piece of property. And I said it many times before from people that was inquiring, it's not for sale. So people should think twice again when they talking about selling their property, because Cayman is not expanding into the property. It's a very limited little island, limited space. And may I ask you a question, if you don't mind?
I don't mind, absolutely.
With all of the present development is taking place here, where are we going to put all of these people when you see your roads being limited to the space of what roads we can have? Where are we going to put these people? Where are we going to put these people? Remember when we were shut down with the pandemic, that there was only certain days alphabetically that you could go on the road?
Yes.
Good.
You want those days to come back?
It's going to come back. It's going to come back, but in a more, shall I say, serious situation because you're going to have unrest. The quality of life is going to be, and is being so diminished. You know, you're going to have road rage and all sorts of things. I see it coming, like I see a big rain coming. It is unacceptable, undesirable for indigenous Caymanian like myself to see what's going on here. And when you talk about the revenue, is the revenue you're getting presently going to cure all of the ill-fated things that's going to happen in this island? Because it's an island, it's not a continent. So it is high time that the authorities that we have here, whether they're elected or whether they're appointed, to take stock of this little 2x4 God-blessed island. It is absolutely too much going on. When you see your vegetation being demolished and cut down and everything, and then we're talking about, oh, it's getting so hot in CUC bills, because we are causing it on top of ourselves. If we had more vegetation instead of less, the island would be certainly a few degrees cooler than warmer. But everything is about the almighty dollar. And it is really disgusting, disheartening of what you see happening to this island. And nobody has the real interest, from my point of view, in my opinion, to stand up and say, look, enough is enough. This can't happen anymore. Go someplace else. We do not need you here, because I will tell you up front, a lot of those people that are coming in here, in my opinion, they are undesirables. They look at Caymanians like, what you doing here, you know?
Yep.
So this is it. That's my little piece for today. I wish I could go on a little longer, but time is not on my side. So.
Wait, don't hang up, because I do want to respond while you are on the phone. I think, it is up to our elected officials to be able to change certain laws that allow Caymanians to be able to buy homes and properties here and build more affordably as well, and different types of buildings as well. So I don't know if you heard me earlier when I said, why can't we have like more apartment buildings, like high-rise apartment buildings, more inland, that would be more affordable for people to buy into. I don't see why that's a hard thing to do. But we know the government is relying on our economy to recover through development. We know this. They've said this. Whether it was the budget or the SPS, they've said it. There's so many. It's a hard thing, and I feel like people don't necessarily want to be responsible for certain things. Or something that's a really big deal, that people don't always want to kind of step up because it's going to be a lot of controversy. Look at the port. Ever since I moved here, the port has been a discussion, back and forth, whatever party. The port's getting built, it's not being built. People flip-flopping here and there to whatever party will get them elected because, hey, they're against the port. But previously they were for the port. So there's a lot. We have a whole entire ministry that was created for sustainability and climate change. Yet we have seen, since that ministry was created, we have seen approvals to developments that are there that will continue to deplete our natural resources, to continue to take away from our mangroves, to continue to build on beach and cause more erosion. So we are seeing these things still being approved despite what the elected government's plea is towards a sustainable future for Cayman. So those are my, I see, I can't say certain things. That's what I have to say to you, caller, right now. I can't say certain things, but I see one thing being done on one hand, and on the other hand, I see something else being done in contrast to what was being promised.
Hang on a minute. I will respond in the context that I see it, and I hope it will be taken in the context that I am explaining. Accountability That's what's happening to the Cayman Islands for too long. We are afraid to call these people out by their names. Well, I don't mean to say that in this. What's happening? Where is the guts and the gumption that we should have to, once we know that that person is responsible, that is the way it should be. And here they are hiding behind the curtains like you're talking about now, approving certain issues or certain situations that should not be, and then we here fighting in the public because we see it. I think, in my opinion, I believe that we have elected and appointed some of the best politicians that money can buy. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was a strong ending. Thank you, sir, for your thoughts and for your call this afternoon. You've raised some great points and, like I said, a very strong ending in your final sentence there. So I want to thank everybody who has been able to call us today and who joined the discussion, who gave some WhatsApps. I do have a WhatsApp to share. I can't share the entire message, but this is going back in relation to Bernie Bush, Minister Bernie Bush, and the situation where the Ministry of Home Affairs was reassigned to Minister Sabrina Turner. So the comment, in so many words, says that he is perhaps one of the only, whether he's in the civil service or not, that will fight for Caymanians. And that is a final note that I've received on our WhatsApp. So thank you for joining me this afternoon. I want to remind people that tomorrow you do have your National Day of Prayer, Tuesday, April 12th at 12 noon. It goes on till 12:50 p.m. That's at the lawn of the Glass House. If you are driving from, perhaps you work down West Bay Road, perhaps you're somewhere else in Prospect, but you do want to join. This is the first public National Day of Prayer since lockdown happened for the Cayman Islands, which, lockdown hit us late March 2020. So please do join the Cayman Ministers Association as they will lead the National Day of Prayer tomorrow, 12 noon at the lawn of the Glass House. And on that note, I'm going to leave you all. Don't forget to tune in for the Business Buzz tomorrow morning with Anita Fawcett-Kahn. And I believe she's also going to take you, on the Talk Today journey tomorrow afternoon as well. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back with you tomorrow with Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including